questions. We have using genome sequences to point it out, like the dengue fevers, legionnaires, and some where to detect areas from blood. It should help for the clinicians to identify this, what is the pathogens, suspected infected disease. And also, as Dr. presented, and especially for the genome sequence, especially NGS or WNGS, yes, around 5 years ago, there will be outbreaks of endoscopic cross-contaminations in our hospitals due to the genome sequences. We pointed out where is the outbreaks. So I think that in most European nations, including China's, the multiplex PCR, like the gene expert, fumarases, coming from different MCNs, reduce great favors for clinical applications. And as for mainland China's, the input for every NGS is around 100 USD dollars for clinical applications. There brings more challenges. One advantage is to bring more information, some rare to detect bacteria, anaerobes, tuberculosis, legionnaires from different tissues, organs, but the explanations. There will be a lot of background information, multiple information will be estimated. So I believe, firstly, do my personal admire to the doctors. Thank you for sharing this knowledge to give me some of my reminders. So actually today, on behalf of Mindtrace, thank you invitation from the conference. In the next 20 minutes, I'd like to introduce the solutions to one global nightmare we called the carbapenem resistance, which I dedicated in the past around 10 years. So at the very beginnings, I have to have introductions to the prevalence, maybe. No. Let me stand here. It will be a nightmare. 2 days ago, I have the interest to visit the #1 public hospitals, and there will be equalized. The doctor showed me in their panels. They listed around 12 different antimicrobials, and there's no zones. It's an equalized. So we're asking when the doctors, do you have some beta-lactams inhibitors that we can use to find more solutions for the doctors? He said, no, we have only amoxicillin and clavacid in this one. So we discussed if some potential opportunities we can provide the choice. Maybe at this moment, we should understand that it's true challenges for all these nightmares. I believe, actually, this one has been listed as the top nightmares according to the US CDC, and every hospitals have actually isolated these bacteria. So today, from the epidemiologies and treatment and the detection method, I will combine my knowledge in the past 10 years and share some of the technology advances to have a brief introductions. So let's look at the definitions. Actually, in 2022, the US CDC had updated the definitions, but still, we can use the previous versions. It will be defined as resistance to either type of the carbapenems, maybe imipenem, ertapenems, meropenems, and what is the best substrate? Of course, it's meropenems. And the second way to define as carbonaceous is we use the molecular testing, or to point it out its neighbors of DNA or some of its enzymes has been confirmed. So actually you can find that it would be defined as at least NDR. So that means not only resistance to most type of the beta-lactams. And you can find here around 15 to 18 different antimicrobials will display resistance, including lactobacillus, gentomycins, and the remaining savages, including the things cholestins, or now even the latest specific of avibactams are display a growing tendencies display of the resistance. So actually, this will be a threat. That means display of XDR, even PDRs, we can define this. There will be versatile different antimicrobials. That's when the clinicians or pharmaceuticals encounter these challenges, they were always concerned and consult with our microbiologists to address alternate issues to help improve outcomes. So what is the globals? Actually, as for the molecular testing, we cannot join up maps. But we still believe that according to the latest find, we can trust it. KBC1, KBC2, KBC3 was the predominant in most of the nations, exclude the Mediterranean nations, whereas in Oxa 48 is high prevalences. And this one, NDM and some MPLs was quite prevalent in this Southeast Asians. So even despite we don't have enough epidemiology testing here, we believe that it might be co-mixed with the KPC or the oxas in Klebsiella pneumonias, and when a lot of eclat was displayed, maybe NDM1, NDM5, or NDM7 will be subtyped. So this is some of the moleculars, yes, that is the epidemiology data we have acquired for different nations. So I believe as these doctors from the reference science, as we introduce the molecular testing, I think since 2024 or 2025, is the audience can monitor the growth changes of these subtypes of different Klebsiella pneumonias which display resistance to melopenem. So actually you can find this one. I will take my hometown, Great China, as examples. Since we become this national class monitoring since 2005, you can say actually escalations. And this data I forgot to update it. You see, in 2018, it's around 25, and the latest CRKP isolate percentage in China is around 30%. 30%. And where the hospital I graduated, West China Hospital or the Hunan Provincial Shanghai, in most cities, in the urban cities, which has surpassed 50 in most ICU department. So at this moment, most of the doctors will prescribe the savages, maybe cholesterol plus civitas avibactam when a suspected Klebsiella pneumonias cause systematic infections. So I display all these data is to illustrate it was a trend. Whatever nations we lived, growing. But the difference is the subtypes. Here I want to introduce a new one. I believe that you may have encountered. This was defined as hypervirulent. We understand it. This one's easy to detect. If you find the Klebsiella pneumonia from some of the samples from the community-acquired liver abscess with diabetes, so I think in the future you can have the meteors. You can have the meteor. You see this is the Klebsiella, and you can using the loops to pick its we call it the capsule, and using the loop to do the wire, and consider this one. If this length of the capsular polysaccharide is more than 5 milliliters, it was defined as hypervirulent. The hypervirulent will display an absolutely epidemiology with the classical carbapenem resistance. This hypervirulence was popular now in China, Japan, Korea, and we saw some cases in nearby Kenya and Egypt. This one always caused the liver abscess with some risk factors like the immunorepress and diabetes. But the result is this one always susceptible to most of the third generation of Fantos princes, and even carbapenems will be a choice at the moment. So the treatment is not the challenge. The challenge is the hypervirulence will cause high mortalities. But the bad news is according to the genomic sequences, our team has found that this hypervirulent genes will form a plasmid with the carbapenem resistance. It's an outbreaks after the surgeries. So that means hypervirulent, it will display a lot of it will haper a lot of genes like NDM1 and CR2. So finally, you can see here, there will be 60 patients in this plastic surgery. Finally, 12 died. This is the first time since we discover Klebsiella, which is hybrid 2 plasmid that will be finally formed 1. So this is we call it hypervirulent and highly resistant. So I suggest that in the future, if you in the lab, you have this testing, you can point it out. It might be a hypervirulent here. And here, as we mentioned, that we still have some savages, for example, the colistin, tigecyclines, and some new antibiotic drugs. But here, some of the pan-resistant drugs has been pointed out, and what was be the choice? Yes, there was be a challenge for all of us. So we need to understand it if we want to answer all the questions, how we can define this phenotypes of the carbapenems. I believe that's, can you see this one? It's in blue. So I believe most of the CREs, actually, which was threats, we can define as the CPE, carbapenem producing antibacterials to replace carbapenem resistance. Because the enzymes were vertical or corrosion transmitted, with shakens or touch or some services of the ICU or the other type of machine of the facilities in different laboratories. So today we just focus on this one, carbapenems. So actually in China we define this one no longer be CRE but be more as defined as CPE because this carries some plasmids were transmitted from one lab to another lab. And for this one, it will be divided to 3, yes, A, B, D group. And of course, it includes C groups. C group is some of apple seed was not included here. A will be the Klebsiella, the most widely will be the KBC, and the second will be the mentals. The capital center is the mentalizes, zinc. So this one, the best representative is NDM, and last one is oxas. So why we emphasize this things so much? For example, in the field, maybe we just interpret as MRSA, ESBL, we do not go deep inside the subgroups because we closely to each type of to different treatment. So actually, this is some of the data we have stored through the Googles and PubMinders here. Actually, in the entire Africa, we have limited access here. Only some public journals pointed out Kenya, Algeria, South Africa. These places, different the molecular epidemiologies. I believe in the future, your reference centers will build this one. So we can find it in the future. Ethiopians will find what is the molecular yes, molecular epidemiologists of CRE by different segments. For example, in intensive unit care, children's pediatrics, and outpatients. Because we found this, according to survey, most pediatrics patients, the molecular epidemiology will be class B, but in most of the labs, ICU, hepatology department, respiratory department, will be dominated by KPC. So that was different. If in the future we have the ability to subgroup different clinical wards, we can draw our own maps. So what comes is, actually we understand its mortality is higher, as over 40 to 70%. According to one retrospective data from our hospitals, it's around 50%. Suppose these cases occurs in the Department of Organ Transplantations or the cassette hemolysis, it will be much higher than sometimes maybe 70 to 90 different percentage. And also it will be a huge public burden. On average, it's estimated to cost several billion dollars. So I mean, we need to be attended to these nightmares to replace ESBLs. So, as a member of the AMSTs, antimicrobial stag teams, microbial, I think, according to a lot of guidelines, WHO guidelines, national guidelines, so I believe that for suspected, for the treatment levels, I believe that we will identify what is the types. And secondly, sometimes we need to do some screenings from some clinical wards, ICU, pediatrics, respiratories, and the pathologists, to find if the colonization has existed in different departments. And finally, that we will point it out if possible by moleculars or by the other type of knowledges to point it out what is the subtypes of the bacteria and to provide an accurate MIC values to support the doctors to give a more accurate treatment. So let's come to see the first one. Is the carbapenem resistance? We understand this. We need to point it out whether it's a CPE or it's a non-CPEs. So actually at this moment, the breakpoint can help us with screenings. So actually, we understand there will be two types of breakpoint. The breakpoint one, now we adopted from CISI is 8, right? Suppose meropenem resistance, this MIC value of the carbapenem plus 8, it will be defined as resistance. Resistance means that in 70% of clinical scenarios, it was a reasonable choice. So this is for clinics. So there will be a screening, right? There will be screening from the UCAST. So have given the MIC value less than 0.12. That means this is a wild type. So that means this is an ECV to screen whether a gene favors or low productions. So that means we need some expert systems with panels that enable screening as well as for the treatment purposes. And secondly, that's for hospital infection controls. Actually, for most of the combinations, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Mali, Kenya, Ethiopians have visited around 90 nations in the world, and we find we need to be curious about the hospital infections, especially for intensive unit cares. So, the plasmid encoded carbapenem was able to vertically transmissions in strengths. So this is one outbreak that's displayed in one New York City, in New York teaching hospitals, from one patient and gradually transmitted to different places. Yes, especially for this one. And this one is we are quite familiar in different ICU departments, the beds, and the different clinical facilities. But now, actually this one, have you ever tried for the endoscopians? Yes, we need to focus not only for the CRE, but also for the possible nonsense. So actually since 2020s, there will be versatile reports, including China's United States. They have pointed out it will be a potential threat for the endoscorpions. So the third thing that we need to understand is the different type of the enzymes and what is the principles to detect it and what is the best result to inhibit